Every nanny had the same story: 5-star pay, luxury mansion, and a sudden terrified exit. The Millionaire's twins weren't the problem, at least not on their own. Behind those towering gates, something darker was at play. Whispers of insults, silent stares that cut deeper than words, and rules no one dared to question. One by one, they all walked away. Then she arrived, a black woman who'd faced storms before and refused to run this time. But as the days passed, the smiles faded, the shadows grew, and the truth began to show itself. What she uncovered inside that house would leave scars no paycheck could heal. Her name was Evelyn Carter, a woman who had built her life on resilience. Born and raised in a working-class neighborhood, she knew the value of hard work and the sting of being underestimated. For years she'd worked as a nanny, earning a quiet reputation for being the one who could handle even the most challenging children. Her calm voice and unshakable patience were her strengths. When the offer came to work for the Lawrence family, billionaires known for their charity, galas and front-page appearances, it felt like a chance to finally secure her future. The pay was triple what she'd ever made. The mansion was sprawling, with marble floors that echoed under every step, and gardens that stretched farther than she could see. It looked like a dream, but almost immediately she sensed the unspoken rules. Staff avoided eye contact. Conversations stopped when she entered a room. At first, she told herself it was just adjustment. The twins, Michael and Claire, were bright, curious, and warm to her from the start. But there was a tension in the air, something invisible yet heavy. In the staff kitchen, she overheard whispers about the last one, who left after a single week. Evelyn didn't ask questions. She needed this job. She had rent to cover, a mother in fragile health, and a younger sister whose college tuition was slipping out of reach. Every morning, she reminded herself, "I've handled worse." Yet in the eyes of certain family members, she noticed it, the way their smiles tightened when she spoke, the way her presence seemed to rearrange the air in the room. She thought it was subtle, something she could ignore. But soon the small things began to add up. And by the end of her second week, Evelyn would realize this wasn't just about being a good nanny. It was about surviving a test no one had warned her about. It began with little things, easy to miss, easy to excuse. A missing set of keys Evelyn was sure she'd left on the counter. A faint muttered word behind her back as she walked away from the dining room. The driver, a man she barely knew, refusing to meet her eyes when she greeted him. But soon the undercurrent grew stronger. At lunch one afternoon, Mrs. Lawrence's sister, a woman with pearls around her neck and a voice sharp enough to slice glass, commented on Evelyn's hair. "Is it supposed to look like that?" she asked, smiling as if she were being polite. Evelyn forced a small smile, swallowing the sting, and carried on serving the twins their sandwiches. The twins looked up at her, confused, too young to understand why her jaw tightened. The children clung to her more with each passing day. Michael insisted she be the one to read him bedtime stories. Claire begged her to braid her hair in the mornings. Evelyn took comfort in their affection, but it seemed to make certain people in the household bristle. One evening, after the family's weekly charity dinner, Evelyn returned to the playroom to find a drawer pulled open and the contents scattered. Among them was a delicate silver bracelet, something she'd never seen before. Before she could gather her thoughts, Mrs. Lawrence appeared in the doorway, eyes narrowed. "That's from my personal collection," she said slowly. "Strange place for it to end up." Evelyn's chest tightened. The implication hung heavy in the air. She explained that she had just walked in, that she had no idea how it got there. Mrs. Lawrence gave a tight smile, nodded and walked away without another word. But Evelyn knew this wasn't an accident. From that day she noticed she was being watched, in the halls, in the kitchen, even in the garden while she played with the twins. Conversations stopped when she entered, and one morning she overheard the cook whisper, "She'll be gone by next week, just like the others." But Evelyn wasn't like the others. She didn't leave. Instead, she kept her head high, focusing on the twins. She taught them songs, helped them with homework, and even got Michael to try vegetables for the first time. The brighter the children's smiles became, the more the tension around her seemed to crackle, like the house itself resented her presence. Then came the night everything changed. It was late, long after the twins had gone to bed. Evelyn was in the laundry room, folding clothes when she heard it. Low voices in the next room. She recognized the butler's deep tone and Mrs. Lawrence's sharper one. "We can't have her here much longer," Mrs. Lawrence said. "The children are far too attached. You know what that leads to." "She's not like the others," the butler murmured. "She's enduring it." "Exactly," Mrs. Lawrence replied. "And that's the problem." Evelyn's hands froze on the fabric. The words hit her harder than any open insult. This wasn't just about her job. It was about erasing her place in the twins. Lives before she could matter too much. She stayed quiet, heart pounding, as the conversation faded into another room. But inside, a fire began to burn. She had taken this job to provide for her family, but now it was more than that. The twins deserved someone who wouldn't disappear without a fight. What she didn't know was that the fight was about to come to her doorstep, sooner and harder than she could ever have imagined. The storm broke on a Saturday afternoon. The twins were in the garden, their laughter spilling through the warm air as Evelyn pushed them higher and higher on the swings. For a moment, it felt almost normal, like the tension of the past weeks had faded into the summer sky. Then Mrs. Lawrence appeared, her heels clicking against the stone path. Behind her trailed two men in dark suits, security. The air shifted. "Evelyn," she said, voice cold, "we need to talk now." Evelyn glanced at the twins who had gone quiet, sensing the change. She followed Mrs. Lawrence toward the patio, the two guards flanking her as though she were some kind of threat. "A piece of jewelry has gone missing," Mrs. Lawrence began, her eyes fixed on Evelyn's. "A family heirloom. I think you know which one." Evelyn's chest tightened. She shook her head slowly. "I don't know anything about it." Mrs. Lawrence's lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Our staff's lockers have been searched. Yours will be next." One of the guards stepped forward. "We can do this the easy way," he said softly, "or the hard way." The humiliation washed over her like ice water. This wasn't just about a bracelet. It was about painting her as the problem, the thief, the outsider who didn't belong. Her mind flashed to every moment she had ignored, the stares, the whispers, the deliberate isolation. It had all been leading to this. "Search whatever you want," she said, her voice trembling but steady. "You won't find what isn't there." But the moment they opened her locker, a small velvet pouch tumbled out. Inside was the missing heirloom. Gasps echoed across the patio. Staff had gathered, watching. Evelyn's knees weakened. She knew she hadn't put it there. The realization hit her like a punch. Someone wanted her gone badly enough to frame her. The twins ran to her, clinging to her waist. "She didn't do it," Claire cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. Michael stood beside her, defiant. But Mrs. Lawrence only looked at the guards. "Remove her from the property." As they took her by the arms, Evelyn felt the weight of every injustice she had ever endured pressing down on her. This wasn't just the end of a job. This was the moment she would either break or decide she would not be erased so easily. They drove her to the gate in silence. The mansion shrank behind her, its golden facade gleaming under the sun, a perfect picture hiding its rot. The guards didn't speak, and Evelyn didn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her cry. She stood tall, clutching the small bag of her belongings, the twins' voices echoing faintly in her mind. That night she couldn't sleep. Every detail replayed, the pouch falling from her locker, the cold satisfaction in Mrs. Lawrence's eyes, the way the staff stared as if the verdict had already been decided. She thought of quitting quietly, letting it become another wound she didn't talk about. That was what they wanted, but Evelyn had survived too much to vanish into silence. The next morning, she walked into the local newspaper's office. She told them everything, the whispers, the isolation, the insults, the false accusation. She spoke with the clarity of someone who refused to be ignored, and soon her story spread. The Lawrences denied it all, of course. They called her bitter, ungrateful, a liar. But something they couldn't control happened. The public listened. Former staff members came forward, sharing eerily similar stories. The perfect image of the Lawrence household began to crack. Weeks later, Evelyn wasn't working as a nanny anymore. She was speaking at community meetings, helping women of color in domestic roles understand their rights. and making sure they knew no paycheck was worth their dignity. She never saw the twins again, though she sometimes received small, crayon-colored letters in the mail with no return address. She kept them in a drawer by her bed. Evelyn didn't win in the way people expect. She didn't get her job back. The Lawrences didn't apologize, but she had taken the one thing they couldn't steal, her voice. And in speaking out, she became something far more powerful than an employee. Her story is not just hers. It's the story of countless others who are pushed out, framed or silenced because of the color of their skin. And the question her story leaves us with is one we all have to face.